Thank you so much for Fish Right to introduce the fisheries today. It's a great segue. We look at a much smaller scale, much local scale. But what I want to discuss with you guys today is how and where I think EarthRanger could fit inside our reporting system and where it makes sense. So LAMAVE, for the one that don't know us, we're a very small NGO. We're only 10 people full-time, and we have more projects than people. And we focus on marine megafauna, so everything big at sea. Shark, turtles, dolphins, whales. And we work across the Philippines, but since pandemic, we really have been trying to focus around Palawan because there is so much to do, and there is so much wildlife still left, more than in most of the rest of the county. And we need, because PCSD is very active and supportive, it's also one of the, for us, it's at the local scale with the LGU and the PCSD interaction, it's one of the easiest governance to ensure that our data get used for management. So this is just a step ladders of how our fishery project work. Our real goal is to reduce shark mortality and enhance fishery income by reducing loss. And to get to this point, as you know, there is a lot of other steps that need to be done before that. And what we're discussing today is how do we integrate EarthRanger, or does EarthRanger make our life easier across these ladders? When and where? So we started very old school, or very analogically, with a lot of paper form. We interview 1,600 fishers around the Philippines in 6 provinces to then kind of pinpoint areas where we wanted, that we thought was priorities. That took a few years, all paper form, encoded on Excel, and then huge Excel forms still in the process of being fully analyzed. After that, we identified a few hotspots, and we started doing landing monitoring, and to look at species identification, looking at sexual maturity, sex distribution of the species. Really, species identification is very important because, as you know, aside from very particular species like sudsud, like the wedge fishes or the hammerhead or the treasure shark, most of other shark are generally called pating or hiho, and that means that the fishermen don't really pay attention if it's a species or another species. And in this bucket, you can see there are many different species that look all the same. Some are newborn and some are sexually mature, even if they're exactly the same size. So if you want the fishermen really to understand what they're catching, then we try to show them and explain them. And at the moment, we're doing paper form and EarthRanger at the same time, because we are not sure EarthRanger fit, as it is today, this step of our process. Maybe a table form, if something that can be added, because sometimes you have 10, 20 animals at the same time on the beach from one boat. So encoding one event by one event, we lose a lot of the information, because if we have less than 5 minutes per boat, the fishermen spend the whole day, the whole night at sea, and they want to go home. So tables may be faster with one encoder and many people measuring and just shouting out all the different information. That could be a way around. But at the moment, we're testing it, so we have individual event, and we have information like size of the animal, sexual maturity, sex, different characteristics that allow you to recognize species. If the whole carcass, fins or body fins have been landed, fishing gear, fishing name, fisher name, and vessel name. We have a grid, so the area that they are being caught, the depth, and what other notes. And I'll show you some more notes later, because these notes are our interaction of our team, with the fishers that tell them what happened during the day or during the fishing trip. This is an example. This is actually from this morning at 7 a.m. The team is on the beach, and this shark was caught. And it was very interesting because it's the first time that the fishers report that this was squid jiggers. It's the end of the squid fishing season. But during full moon, they switch gear. They use fish jigger, that is hook and line, basically, from the bottom set gill nets. So the same fish use different gears, as you know, but basically the fisherman, the shark was eating their fish, the squid, so they use a net and catch the shark because of the predation. And in Palawan, on the west coast, the predation is a huge problem. In some barangay, we have up to 30% of the catch that is eaten by or damaged by the sharks. The fishermen don't really want to catch the shark, at least in most of the places, but they're seeing as menaces because they're losing a significant portion of the income. And we did a lot of interviews, and they don't see a feasible solution. They are they don't have that much hope. The same when you ask what's your perception about bycatch, and it's like it's inevitable. Very few fishers think that there are technical or behavioral solution for the bycatch. And then the same for the depredation. Their bottom set gill net are set only for less than 30 minutes, because otherwise they will lose the whole catch, because there is so many shark and larger predatory fish in this area. So only 2 out of the 60 fishermen actually thought about changing fishing areas. The other one, they said, we always fish here, this is just the way to go. So obviously there are much more behavioral change campaign and education campaign that could be done as part of the testing the different mitigation strategies. So we also have a fisher observer program when our team goes on the boat. The boat is very small, so we are a bit of a pain for the fishermen to bring us on board, and it's a lot of effort. But it allowed us to characterize unreported bycatch, and we'll see in the next slides, discarded at sea, and animals that get released alive, because these are the animals that don't get to land. So the one that the landing monitoring or the market monitoring will miss. And it'll give us a better understanding of the gear. But I think the most interesting part is the self-reporting. So the same as Fishrite presented through the commercial fishing, we use EarthRanger to report from the small-scale fishers. We provided fuel testing mobile phone to the fishers, and just going through pros and cons. We used to give them a little logbook. We think the mobile phone actually more efficient. Once you buy the phone, the cost of running it's very cheap. We use Smart, so you buy a load that never expired, and the data stream is very small. So 500 megabyte lasts, so 1 gigabyte lasts us the whole month. So it's very cheap. It allowed us to build trust, and I think trust is one of the most important topics about using this digital platform in the local communities, and allowed us to capture events like rare events, live release, depredation, and other encounters like illegal fishing vessels, like the presenter from Busuanga. That is not our target, but it's still one of the corollary data that you can get. And also for us, it's part of the behavior change. We really ask the fisher, we think by taking the photos and encoding what they're catching, allowed them to better understand the impact that they actually have on this animal. It's not perfect, obviously it's high initial cost, you need to buy a lot of mobile phone. It's not as accurate as Observer, it's systematic, but it's really dependent on the effort, right? Some fishers, especially the young one, are really excited about using it. They can see each other fishing. They can go and have a coffee in the middle between the break when they drop the net. But it's really engaged independent. It takes a lot of time to, like every week, remind them to use it, go through training every couple of weeks, and it is feasible because our team is in the community year-round. And then cost also, obviously, you lose many more mobile phone if it's managed by the fisher than not by a researcher. This is how we set it up. We have patrols type, and hopefully there'll be patrol categories, so a way to don't show the fishers the other patrolling system that we use. And then we have a very simplified reporting, so event categories. And we'll go through later how do we set up event categories and event type. But basically, when the fishermen press this button, that's all they see. And it can be as simple and as complicated as possible. We try to, for now, to keep it as simple as possible. So this is the last month. You have here on the dashboard, you see all the shark bycatch event. And this is their fishing trip with all the different events that happens. And it's a lot of data, and that's what we need to think about now, is how do we simplify, how do we make the fishers' life easier, and our report, like whoever gonna do the analysis, easier. And this is an example of a fishing trip. Is this one in red? We collect information on the fishing gear, the name of the boat, the number of fishers on that boat. And when they have a bycatch event, for example, like this, if the animal is alive, what happened to the shark, and if they have any notes, if they can describe the animal. And it gives us secondary information, like here you can see the other catch at the bottom of the boats, right? This is another example. The animal was kept, and you take, this is a different animal, and the photos are uploaded when they get back close to shore. But there is signal nearly everywhere on the west coast of Palau and within the municipal waters. This is an example of depredation. This is their main target species that they were catching, and what it was eaten, 5 pieces, and this is the photos. So this is not perfect, but again, we want them to try to understand how often this happens. And our fisher observer reported every day, but the fisher itself only reported once this month. So there is a different perception of what is important and relevant between the fishers and our team, for example. And even when they do not report anything, like there are some older fishers that just start the patrol and then don't report any event, they can be bothered, they forget. By looking at the behavior, so the fishing track, this is this tip here, by looking at the behavior, so the speed of the fishing vessel, you can understand where the net were placed, and this was it was drifting, so there were drift nets. So you can actually understand a lot of the behavior of the fisher just by looking at their the track. So very, very easy reporting. They don't have to do anything apart from starting the patrol type, and even potentially the phone could be tracked all the time, and I just turn on and off the phone. It will be even easier. Last is like emergency response. I think first try bring out a very important point. How safe is for them to fish? Is there something that we can do? If you enable the user to see each other's, creating a user group, for example, they can see each other's, and in case of emergency, they could alert each other. If there is if the Bantay Dagat or the Barangay Tanod has a station at the local level, they could have a screen where they can have an emergency alert event that tell them, come and pick me up. And these require live monitoring. So we have not started this yet, because we don't want to promise the fishermen that at 2 a.m. they press an emergency button and one of us will go and pick them up, because we may be asleep. But that's where we're going. We're talking with the barangay, if at the barangay level, because they have the Barangay Tanod, that are always up. If you can set up a screen in their Barangay Tanod station. But this is another option that can be done in many different ways in using EarthRanger. This is just a very simple way, having an event that is a higher alert and trigger a notification. But I think there are more refined ways to do it. Challenges and other ideas. We just ordered a few of these. We want to test it. This costs $50, so 2,500 pesos. And the package with an antenna costs around $80. And according to them, we were discussing yesterday, it may not be true, but this lasts a month. And this antenna has 20 kilometers radius. So for a small-scale fishers, that is within this radio, they can transmit their location at no cost. This is use long-range radio waves, basically. And this could be integrated, I think, with EarthRanger, right? Because LoRaN is integratable. So we could still deploy, instead of using their app, that is very basic, I think it can be displayed into the EarthRanger. And once this could be done to expanding the monitoring of the fleet within the municipal water at very low cost. So no mobile phone for the fishermen that don't want any technology on board. This is the size of a ping pong ball. You can glue it on the boat, and every month you just recharge it. So there is no perfect solution. Ideally, it's an integration of many different solutions. I think that's one of the strengths, really, of EarthRanger, how plastic it is in terms of it's really adaptable to many different solutions. And there is other things that can be done. There is like cameras that can record a catch constantly, for example. There is a lot of testing going on in many different countries. Malaysia has a very simple Arduino-based, very cheap cameras that is testing also on AI for shark species identification. It's very hard. Like this one, these are 5 species of sharks, right? They look all the same, right? Some are very young juvenile, some are sexually matured. Again, we were saying earlier, we really need to understand the dynamic, the ecological side of the fishery as well if you want to be sure that it's sustainable. Survival rate, the fishers said they release the shark, but like a baby hammerhead that has been on a net for 30 minutes, you release it alive and may die in the next few hours due to stress. Some are adult, like black tip shark, for example, they may be much stronger. So next phase would be doing tug and release. And then long-term monitoring. I think this is the most important. The social aspect of the fishery monitoring, as you know, is the most important. How do we keep them engaged? How do we reward the extra work that they're doing? Or, the fishers are out there for like 7-8 hours every night, and they come back with 2-3 kilos of fish. Is there a way? Not always, right? Sometimes the catch is very good, but not always. How do we reward their contribution to the data collection? We do not provide any financial rewards because we don't want to monetize this collaboration, but we don't know what the solution is. And then really this interlinkage here that I think is what we were talking earlier is like, how do we ensure that the LGU use it, the agency use the data, but how do we build this trust? Most of the species that you've seen here, they are protected because they are under CITES, and now because they're under CITES with the amended fishery code, right? They are protected in the Philippines, so there is no catch. But bycatch is still mainly undefined and unmanaged. So the fisher don't really know what to do with these species once they're dead into their nets, right? So the fishers are scared of reporting it, and we ensure that they're not going to be apprehended. So if the LGU, the MAO, is on board and they understand that the data will be anonymized and it will be used to create mitigation strategies, not for enforcement in terms of apprehension. But that needs to be clear at all level, because if this data gets centralized and then the Coast Guard come down or the PNP come down and impound the boats, then it doesn't solve any problem. It just shifts the problem to the next barangay, like we've seen in the past many times. So I think when we think about this scaling up or data users, data going up to the chain, we need to be sure that maybe there is some data that get removed, like the name of the fishing vessel or the name of the fishers, to be sure that it's safe for the fishers to report and that they feel safe, right? Because at the end, it's really they're doing it. They're not mandated to report through these systems, and it's really on trust. Is on safety, their safety and our safety. So we need to think more about, I think, how the data will be used and ensuring that the livelihood of these fishers are not put at risk through the digitalization of the system. So thank you. We'll talk more about, I think we're good at times, right? Perfect. We'll talk more about, before lunch, how do we set up the system, how do we use EarthRanger for collecting systematic scientific data.